I'm Meagan Glover, joined by Harold Kuntz of WDAF, our sister station in Kansas City, someone who has seen this Chiefs dynasty up close and personal for some years now. Harold, we appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Now, I say dynasty because what Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes have been able to do during their time has been nothing short of incredible. And that goes without saying, but also haven't looked like the same old Chiefs in the last 2 seasons. Somehow, they keep finding a way to win. 11 wins within the touchdown, 6 of those within the field goal. How have they been able to escape those close games?
It's their ability to win in close moments because they've done it so much. And Patrick Mahomes has an outstanding record of being in close games and pulling them out at the end, one-possession games. He's got one of the best records of all time. But really, when you talk back to how they changed their kind of philosophy of the team, you know, we all saw the exciting stuff back when he was first starting out in 2018, 2019, the big offensive numbers. But they transitioned to more of a defensive team. Steve Spagnuolo and his defensive unit has been top 5 in the league for the last couple of years. They've kept up that consistency, drafted really well in the 2022 drafts. Guys like Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis, and a couple others have stepped up and made their presence known on the defense alongside a guy like Chris Jones who's been a staple of that team. So those are the guys that have been able to step up and win the leadership roles of Patrick Mahomes, and of course, Travis Kelce and Chris Jones. We have that nucleus there. Those guys have been able to make sure that this thing stays afloat and leading to 5 Super Bowl appearances in the last 6 years.
We're going to double back to some guys that have stepped up and, of course, those veterans that you just mentioned as well. But let's reflect back to the last meeting back in 2023, Super Bowl 47. These 2 teams met on the biggest stage. That game coming down to the wire, ending with a Harrison Butker boot to end the game. Now, of course, both teams have had those player shifts, of course, but for the most part, they both still have their same stars besides Saquon Barkley. That said, do you predict this game will still be as close as it was, or could one team run away with it?
I think it'll be close, but I don't think it'll be as high scoring as it was in 2 years ago. I mean, you look back at that game, Jalen Hurts played out of his mind. He was exceptional. A.J. Brown got good plays. And then the Chiefs, the real big difference was that defensive play from Nick Bolton, the touchdown from the linebacker to score a touchdown. So 38-35 was that score, but the Chiefs have been playing some lower scoring games recently. And that's not because of the offense not just being as good as they once were. Their first 30-point performance of the year was against Buffalo, where they had 32 and won the AFC Championship. So they're still capable of putting up points against a decent defense like Buffalo's was. But this is obviously a much bigger challenge defensively with Philadelphia. 2 great cornerbacks who are rookies, who are young, but the Chiefs will try to exploit them. And obviously we know about their defensive line with Jalen Carter. But 2 years ago it was Fletcher Cox. And now it's Jalen Carter, the young guy out of Georgia. So it's going to be a really interesting battle in the trenches, as all football games are. And that's where you see the strength of the Chiefs' interior offensive line, like guys like Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Joe Thuney. All those guys are Pro Bowl talent players. And when they'll go up against Jalen Carter and that interior of the Eagles, that's going to be a matchup to watch. Whoever wins that battle is going to be the one that wins the game.
Now, look, it's never any doubt on if they can put points on the board, right? But let's circle back to some guys that you mentioned earlier that have stepped up. Guys who have really stepped up this year. Kareem Hunt, the rookie Xavier Worthy, the speedster, right? DeAndre Hopkins, and that's just the offense. But between newer guys stepping up and vets just holding things down on their end of the bargain, how has that led them to success?
Well, you mentioned DeAndre Hopkins. He's a guy that's a 12-year NFL veteran who's getting his first shot at the Super Bowl. He's been with Houston, he's been with Arizona, he's been with Tennessee. He hasn't been close, and he's been tormented by teams like the Kansas City Chiefs. Now he gets his opportunity to play for one. And then there's other guys like Kareem Hunt, a redemption story, that running back. He's really come along and really been the power horse back as the season has stretched along. He was with the Chiefs and then went to Cleveland after he got kicked off with the Chiefs, but he's matured. He had a meeting with Andy Reid at Patrick Mahomes' wedding in Hawaii, and that kind of led to him being picked up back in when nobody else really wanted him. A guy like Juju Smith-Schuster's on the team. He was in New England. He got cut from New England, but he did play a little bit with the Chiefs for a couple of years, came back, and now he's producing. So, and then, of course, Xavier Worthy, the rookie who's really formulated into one of his own. His second half of the season has been absolutely exceptional. He's starting to really look like an NFL receiver out there instead of just a guy that we know that had the pure talent and capability, but now he's starting to put it to the field, getting the trust of Patrick Mahomes. So all those guys coming together have really made this thing turn around for them as they get set to try to win a Super Bowl.
Now, before we started this interview, we talked about your familiarity with New Orleans and being a graduate student at some time, or undergrad rather, your family being around, so you know Lil Wayne pretty well. Of course, people here know Lil Wayne pretty well as well. One of my favorite songs from him is Three-Peat. Now, I wouldn't recommend listening to that version, but look, this leads me to this. If the Chiefs can pull off the not so unthinkable, do you believe that they have the opportunity to three-peat? three-peat and become the first team in history to do so.
You know, I did meet Lil Wayne once at a Pelicans game.
Nice.
He was getting popcorn. It's a true story. But three-peat, yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. Legacy is definitely something that everybody's been looking forward to. Some people just want to see history. A lot of people have come to the point that, you know, you might hate the Chiefs, but you got to deal with the Chiefs. That's kind of what they say in Kansas City. And really, when it comes down to it, history is the biggest thing. And to have a three-peat, anybody you talk to, the word immortality comes up. No one's ever done this. And to have your name stretched in history as the first to ever three-peat in the NFL. I mean, I know about the Packers when the NFL-AFL merger was going on, but to be the first one in the Super Bowl era, 59, we're in Super Bowl 59, and you're doing the first thing ever. That's crazy. So, I mean, it's all about the history, and Andy Reid is a steward of history. He's a Hall of Famer. Patrick Mahomes is a first ballot Hall of Famer already. Travis Kelce is. I say Chris Jones is. Maybe a couple other guys have a chance to make their names as Hall of Famers as well. Some that used to play for the Chiefs, a guy like St. Aug's Tyrann Mathieu or something like that, he might be a Hall of Famer. He's got a Super Bowl ring with the Chiefs. So you think of all these guys and all the history they're creating. You want to see it come together, and they're one game away from something that is almost improbable. 9 teams have tried this, and only one has had the opportunity to even play in the Super Bowl for a title, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs.
All right, guys, that is our Chiefs extraordinaire that I'm going to call him. Again, that is Harold Kuntz of WDAF in Kansas City. We appreciate you joining us.
All right, thanks, Megan.